Robert Fisk is Britain's most highly decorated foreign correspondent. He's one of the few people to have interviewed Osama bin Laden, and his outspoken criticism of the US and Israel has earned him many death threats, including one from American actor John Malkovich, who said he wanted to shoot Fisk. EML's European correspondent Anita McNaught filed this story on one of the world's most important and impassioned reporters.
He's probably the most widely read, possibly even the most influential foreign correspondent working in the English language today. Robert Fisk's prodigious output is syndicated in at least 40 countries worldwide, including, of course, New Zealand. His most familiar territory is the conflict in the Middle East, not a region for the faint-hearted. But Fisk has been accused of bringing altogether too much heart to his writing. The emotional engagement of his journalism has polarized his readership. Eating Media Lunch tracked him down to his holiday retreat in Ireland. You based yourself in the Middle East nearly 30 years ago. In terms of writing about history being forged, you could scarcely have chosen a better place.
One of the things that's always struck me is that in a period of just 18 months that followed the First World War, my father's war, the victors drew the borders of Northern Ireland, Yugoslavia, and most of the Middle East. And I have spent my entire professional career watching the people in those borders in Northern Ireland, Yugoslavia, and the Middle East burn. And so for me, it's not a question of did I want to move on somewhere else. I've never wanted to be an editor or an assistant editor or climb the greasy ladder or go to New York and sit in an air-conditioned office.
Robert Fisk has made a career of explaining the Middle East to the West. His journalism comes from the center of conflict, from the experiences of people living with the consequences of political decisions taken without their consent. You have a reputation for being a bit of a lone wolf.
The idea of going around in a pack, always going off on the same story, always setting the same narrative. Well, this is a story about a commando raid following... I'm just not interested in doing that. It has no interest to me. It's not what the story is about, and very often the finished version is not reflecting what I see on the ground.
Back in January, Fisk broke the story of how British soldiers allegedly beat an Iraqi man to death. But it wasn't picked up by the rest of the media until the notorious American, then British photographs emerged. He says that's because most journalists in Iraq were listening to the wrong people.
We know, in Iraq, for example, we know what's going on. We know the lies of the occupying power just as much as the ruthlessness and cruelty of the insurgents. We know prisoners are being maltreated. We know they're being humiliated. But for a whole year, apart from a few of us who were going out and talking to those prisoners who'd been badly beaten, it didn't get the headlines. For a whole year it went on. So we didn't do our bloody job.
How much worse is it going to get?
We are doing everything wrong. Everything we do is exacerbating that country towards what could be a civil war, which, as I say, I suspect some people might even like. It's only a matter of time before we hear the statesmen and our leaders who led us into this appalling mess say, we gave them every chance, but the people don't deserve it. Look, we've given them the opportunity. The letter writers are coming in already to the Herald Tribune and the New York Times saying just this, and they don't want, all right, leave them to their own, we did our best. And lost hundreds of our own soldiers doing it, and killed thousands of them at the same time. It's just another betrayal. It's another Middle East betrayal.
The young men who have razored open their heads are enacting the martyrdom of their long-dead imam, who was betrayed by his fellow Muslims, just as the Muslims of Lebanon have so often felt betrayed by the West today.
You're not a polemicist. You say you're not a campaigning journalist. What are you?
I'm a reporter. I'm a reporter. But I'm a reporter who's allowed to say what I think. If I sit down with you over dinner, if I get on the train and talk to people on the train, they have a number of facts and they have opinions and they express them. They don't say, if I say to someone, well, what do you think is going to happen in Iraq? Well, of course, we know there are still 135,000 American soldiers there, and on the other hand, they don't say that. They say, well, I think it's a real mess, isn't it? And I think that what's gone wrong is X, Y, and Z. Now, if any ordinary member of the public can say that, why can't journalists? We can't lie. We can't say, you know, the Americans dropped a bomb on a building when they didn't. or that the Palestinians shot an Israeli when they didn't. We can't make things up. But surely there must be a way in which a reporter who is honoured, privileged to absorb so much information can actually express what he thinks about it. I'm bloody angry when I see children killed. And I have every right to put in my report that this is a savage outrage, and I put it.
But if
I know who's killed them, I will say so.
But aren't you telling people how to feel?
No.
That isn't the role.
No, they're not. I'm telling them how I feel.
You've met Osama bin Laden, what, 3 times? What do you think he's playing for? And are we seeing a significant historical figure rise from this chaos and tragedy swirling around us?
Well, he already is a significant historical figure, whether you loathe him or love him. He already is an iconic figure in the Arab world and will always remain so. And one of the reasons is that, however great the crimes he has committed, when he speaks of Arab injustice, he says the things which Arab presidents and generals and dictators will not say. It is the ultimate humiliation for an Arab to say that the only man who says the things he believes in has to say it from a cave in a mountain. Think what you feel like as an Arab to realize that. So I think what he wanted to do, and he is a very intelligent man, utterly ruthless, but he's very intelligent. I think he wanted to draw the Western powers into the Middle East and trap them there. And so far, he's got it right.
You can find a full transcript of that interview, including more on the John Malkovich death threats, on scoop.co.nz.
Welcome back to Famous Anus, the show where you get to pick the anus. And here's our last contestant for tonight. Who are you going to vote for? Probably the brown one. Incidentally, do you mind if I examine your anus? I thought you'd never... Shut up. Just as I suspected. A surveillance tapeworm. Oh, I was wondering what happened to Jonathan Marshall. Hello?
Ben is a Christian, and according to my research, you're a Satanist. Is there a conflict of interests there?
I don't think I'm a Satanist.
That's
Your
what
research is wrong.
What our research. That's what our research says.
Ben's a Christian. I'm an atheist. I think you're probably fine.
Oh, you're an atheist.
I'm an atheist, yeah.
It says here Satanist. Still to come.
Who is it?
Behind enemy lines, we take you inside the Qantas Media Awards.